So it's mid-June and I'm only doing my May recap now. I have a few reasons why that is, and maybe some of you can relate. Hello everybody and welcome to the Boardgaymergirl channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie and I like to talk about all things board games, but from a primarily solo perspective. Today we are talking about my usual favorites, disappointments, and surprises of the previous month of May, along with some of my board game statistics. But before getting into that, I do want to say that May was a slower or the slowest month that I've had this year. And there's a reason why this video is going up late. And part of that is because a little bit embarrassed about my statistics and just feeling a little unmotivated to play games in May, where, let me just get into the stats here. I only had 17 games that I played and had 19 plays for the month. Without having two big events during the month of May, I actually would have only played 6 times in the entire month. And you know, there's a few reasons about that. I actually had my birthday in the beginning of May, and the last year or so hasn't necessarily gone the way I want. And having it be a significant birthday, I'm actually 40. I'm sure I look 15. No, but for real, it's kind of like a big monumental birthday usually for most folks, right? And birthdays also, I think as you get older, tend to be like reflection spots in life. And just currently where I am at life with just, I couldn't have imagined where I am. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes you think about where you thought you'd be when you reach 40, which when you're younger feels like ages away, right? So with that and more of a slow, reflective month, I just wasn't as motivated to do as many things, and that also included board gaming. And I think given the lack of playing games, another thing obviously being that board game content is kind of my thing, it felt a little tough. And of course, I'm sure other people can relate with this kind of shelf guilt that I'm going to name the feeling, where you are used to playing so many games all the time and it feels great, and every once in a while life happens or you just don't feel up to playing games as much, especially as a solo gamer, where if you're going to play a game, you'll have to learn the rules, set it up, tear it down, play the game in the middle of all that. And sometimes the effort or motivation to get that all done into the table feels like an overwhelming Mount Everest to climb. And a lot of the time, as you go further into the month, for me, it's like it becomes a bigger and bigger guilt on your shoulders to carry. And it makes it harder and harder to do things. So like I said, if it wasn't for 2 events during May, one was I got to go to a KTBG event for their game Lairs, which is great. It's like a battleship 2-player game turned into a dungeon crawler kind of game, where you're trying to figure out where people are in their dungeons, but using a battleship type system where you can't see what their dungeon is or how to navigate it. So that was really interesting. And I played Cafe Barris with my friend Mike at the event. And then on the end of May, where I played the majority of games, I had another Beaver Con I attended, and I'll get into some of my regular favorite surprises and disappointments, and most of them are from that event. But if it wasn't for those 2 events, I'd only played 6 games total for the entire month. And I mean, usually on my birthday, playing games is the biggest thing that I want to do. But it was just a slower month, and that also got to this video where I'm usually giving out my list of games. So it's a little embarrassing when you feel like you haven't played as much and you have to publicly state it. No one's pressuring me to do this. Obviously, it's all on my if I want to do it or not. But it took me a little while to kind of be like, you know what, this is hopefully a relatable thing, as I think board gaming in general, along with life, it just ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have really great months of playing a lot of games, and sometimes you're just not really able to get to the games on your shelf for one reason or another. And regardless, it's all valid. And again, also shouldn't feel shame or embarrassment for it. I mean, like, not like, we're not talking Game of Thrones walking down the street with a lady going, shame, shame behind you the whole month or anything. But just kind of something on your to-do list that's like nagging at you to go and do. And the more you're told to go do it, even in your own mind, the harder it is to do. But when you finally sit down and get a game out, it feels really good. You feel relieved. And I'd say already in June, I'm almost halfway through the same amount of games that I played for the total month of May. But it's something that I just wanted to share. And, you know, I think it's important, again, as I said in the beginning of this year when I relaunched this channel, I'm hoping to be more vulnerable and open and honest about a lot of things. I mean, we got boundaries, okay? I know I'm still behind a camera and people watching me wherever they watch me, even if it's just my mom making a whole bunch of different accounts and that's how I have subscribers maybe, who knows? But in general, it's, I think, important to show or talk about things that aren't always positive. And I mean, yeah, I had a bit of a rough month, but to this month already feels great. And if you stick around, I'll tell you some of the plans that I have coming up in June, which are really exciting for me. So without further ado, I'll put up my statistics as I usually do. I already mentioned that I did 17 games this month. I did 19 plays. One of those games was Let's Go to France, which I did a campaign preview solo playthrough on the channel. And I think that campaign is still live on Kickstarter by the time I have this video go live. So you can go check that out if you wish. I will now go into my favorites, disappointments, and surprises for the month, as we still actually had those. I was debating on whether there were enough games for me to make a list for that. And I realized, yes, Natalie, yes, there was. So the first game on my favorites list for the month is a game called Kingdom Crossing. And before I even played this game, I found it interesting because of the premise that it's built upon. And it's this logic puzzle where there's this theory of 7 bridges of Koenigsberg. And it was solved by Leonard Euler in 1736. It's a puzzle that pretty much says that you can't cross 7 bridges exactly once without getting trapped. And that's the basis of the main board of this game. And in general, that's just like, I like to be a little geeky and nerdy, and that sounds really interesting. And of course, as they're explaining the rules, I'm already looking at the board with like, I can solve this puzzle. But obviously I couldn't. Anyways, the game is really neat. It's kind of, so it's Kingdom Crossing, but you're little beavers and you're trying to cross different bridges to collect different cards. And the main thing that you're trying to do to win the most points at the end of the game is collect cards, which give you things as you're going immediately, but you're also trying to collect different symbols or colored cards that you can tuck under your board. And during the game, you're also moving up personal tracks on your personal board that match those colors. And the big multiplier for your points at the end of the game includes going by points that are multiplied by how far you are up on a different colored track times the amount of that colored card behind your board. So for example, let's say that I am on a purple track and I've gotten past a certain point, and that gives me 1 point, and then I have 3 different purple cards tucked underneath my personal board. So that's 3 times 1, and you get 3 points for that. But it's really interesting. I love tracks in games. I love how there's like an immediate and a end game goal throughout the play, and you're essentially taking 4 different actions out of 6 every round it's really neat. I like everything. So there is also a solo mode, which I am really keen to try and hopefully get this game at some point. I know Jenna from the Board Game Garden actually just did a live stream solo of the game, if you want to check out how the solo plays for that one. But it's one I don't have in my collection, and I really hope to see it in my future. On to my next favorite, and this one is a favorite, but it also has my favorite component of the month, which is just a new category especially for this game. And the game is called Wondrous Creatures. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I always mix up Wondrous Creatures with Whispering Woods, which is the game that I do have from Wonderbow Games, and it's a tile placement game, but they both have animals and the covers are green. Maybe that's the comparison, but otherwise they are not the same. Wondrous Creatures has animals, but they're kind of like not real animals. They're like fantasy animals, but you'll have these Annie-meeples for your player person, and you're putting your little animals onto this map, and it gets you different resources to move up resource tracks. So you've got some resource management, and then you're paying for cards with those resources to play into your tableau, and some of them you can get engine building because some of them are immediate. Some of them give you energy markers, which let you take a certain action multiple times. You're going for goals that you're racing for throughout the game to collect enough eggs or different things or different card symbols over the period of the game, and you have different goals for end game scoring that everyone's competing for. So a lot of things going on, which I like, and it's just how do you efficiently do things. But from this, you're also having your little Annie-meeples, and you get 3, so you get to put 3 out each round, and whenever you need your workers back for some reason, to continue the game basically, and you have your little workers, but your little animal workers go out onto the board, but you have one lead animal, and this is where the best component comes in, because you have these other like people meeples, and these meeples will sit on top of whatever animal meeple you have and kind of ride it as your lead meeple, but they have like a magnetized version of it. So the people have like a magnet, and one of the 3 animal meeples have a magnet. So when you like put the person near the animal, it like clicks up. So we were calling it the magnetic crotch. So I like the magnetic crotch meeples the best. It is my favorite component, and I couldn't help but play with it. I tried to take a video of it, and I kept missing the magnetized thing, so it just looked like I was holding the little person meeple and the animal. Like, who cares? But anyways, that was one of my favorite games of the month. I also don't have it. It has a solo mode. I will be looking for it, and I also got to try this game with the newest Winterfall expansion that'll be coming to Kickstarter or GameFound. I don't know what crowdfunding program they'll be using, but one of those. And I really want this one. It sounds really fun. It sounds like it's great solo, so I can't wait for that one. Another one to search for on my shelves. And with that, unfortunately, I did have a disappointment, but I don't know if it's really a true disappointment, as it's not necessarily a surprise that it's a disappointment, and it's more of a game that's just not for me because of this one little thing or mechanic that it has. And it's also, I think, more of when you play it physically versus when you play it on BGA. But the game is Forest Shuffle Dartmoor. And Forest Shuffle in general, it's a card game, and you're having your tableau that you're building in your own personal area. But for Forest Shuffle, the base game, you'd be collecting trees to start kind of a habitat around each tree. And you'll be drawing cards that will have a division of 2 different animals, plants, or bugs that you could have. So there's a division between the right and the left side, and the top and the bottom side of some of the cards. each card only has 2 options, so either top, bottom, or right and left. And you'll be choosing which one you want to tuck underneath your tree to add it to that kind of habitat area. And the issue that I have when playing it physically is just how messy and annoying it can be to try to tuck 4 cards around one central card, and in some points you're tucking multiple cards into like one side. So you'll have one tree, all 4 cards tucked on the sides, plus you're tucking like 3 more cards onto the right side of that tree card, and it can be a table hog in that sense, but also it just gets messy as like trying to tuck everything together. I don't know. I've seen that there's printed components. Some people do 3D printing of trying to do a base and having slots for the sides, so it cleans it up a bit. But you'd need so many of those because you make so many of those during a game. And I mean, the game itself is neat and it's interesting, and I think I just prefer it on BGA. So I don't mind the game. Like, I can like playing the game on BGA. It's just physically doing that just for some reason irks me a bit. Like, cotton balls or crunchy snow irk me a bit, and it's not something that is normal for everybody to get irked by, but that is me. And for Shuffle Dartmoor, it's kind of more of the same. You have, I think, you have some asymmetrical caves that you can have for different players over the game, which I do like. I always like when asymmetry gets added to the game, the game in general. But there's also like moors instead of just trees that you're using for habitats, but you can only go on the top and the bottom of them. So there's different cards that interact with the moors specifically. And it's a fine game. I see how it's so popular. And I know there's another one that's coming out with a cute little otter, I think, on the cover, which that in itself makes me want to get it. But it's just the physical part of it that can bother me. And it does have a solo mode, but it's only in an expansion. So that's my disappointment. And on to my surprises for the month. And these two, they're 2 different types of surprises. So first I'll go with a game called Inheritors. So Inheritors is a game by North Star Games, and their games tend to be hit or miss for me, so I don't end up searching for them too often. But Inheritors I knew was a small card game, and I ended up getting it in my little goodie bag from Canada Plays last month, or April, end of April, and I happened to have it in my bag, so when we were at Beaver Con, I brought it out, and my friends Steph and Jenna said they would teach me, so they taught me. And it was really actually interesting to me. And I guess going in, I had no expectations for this game, which also always helps a game sometimes when you're surprised. Surprised good versus surprised bad. It's a game where you're playing with cards, but there's, I don't know how many different suits, let's just say 5 different colored suits, and they range from 1 to 6. And what you're trying to do is collect those suits going from 1 to 6 in your area. But everyone's trying to do this, and the deck itself consists of these suits, but there's many of 1s or 2s in a suit in the deck. But there's only 2 5s of a certain suit and 1 6 of a certain suit. And you're trying to get the most of a certain color in your play area by the end of the game. That's essentially how you'll score points during the game. But how you also end up doing this is there's a market of cards that you can draw from depending on playing, like putting cards down or putting cards discarded or something, I can't remember. But you also ask the other players if they have that card in their hand, so a number or a color or something, and then they have to give it to you and you play it down. And again, you're trying to compete with everyone else and hoping or hedging your bets on certain colors. So then other people know what you're looking for and might just keep those cards and hope you don't ask them, kind of thing. Then at certain points, depending on how much you've committed to playing of a certain suit in your area, you'll end up acquiring an asymmetrical like animal that's in the display that you can use for their one-time effect or ongoing effect or something. And there's also hidden objectives that are put above those asymmetrical animal card power things that you can end up taking, and they'll also give you endgame points. I don't think it's a very high scoring game in itself, but it was really interesting. I liked the colors, I liked the art of it, and yeah, it surprised me. And I have it now, but there's no solo mode. I wouldn't think there would be a fan-made solo mode for this one, given how highly interactive it is. If you know of a fan-made solo mode for Inheritors, put it in the comments below so that I can research it, because I think with how much demand I got from my fan-made solo mode videos and how many people have been commenting and messaging me about different fan-made modes that I didn't know about, I might just end up doing another list video of fan-made solo modes. So you can watch out for that. I don't know when it'll come out, but we shall see. My final surprise for the month is one that also speaks to a video I had recently done, and the game is the Vale of Eternity. And this game, I compare it to my top 5 games that I bought twice because I regretted selling them. And that's because I know I did. I need to blame myself. I ended up selling my Vale of Eternity copy. It didn't have a solo mode. I forgot about playing it and it sat there forever. So I was like, I need to go through a call, which was what inspired that previous video. And I played it at Beaver Con. Someone had it on them. They set it up. They had different expansions. I really enjoyed it again. It's, again, mostly a card game and kind of a race to 60 points, or everyone playing out 10 cards in their player area. And you're using resources and trying to manage resources versus buying cards to play those cards, to do engine building, blah, 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 the usual. It was a really fun game, and then my friend Steph told me that there was a fan-made solo mode and that she even uses it, and it's really good. And I was like, oh, I need to try that out. I'll have to go home and look for the fan-made solo mode and look for my copy. And then I looked through all my shelves and realized I must have culled it already. So that is a game I need back in my collection. But, I mean, man, I really hope I do not have to make another top list video of heartbreaking games I called and wish I had back, because that would be sad. Anyways, that is the end for my recapping of stats and favorite surprises and disappointments for the month. As I mentioned before, I was going to mention what's happening in June. I've already had a event day for TabsCon, which is an extension of Breakout Con here in Toronto, and got a bunch of great games done on that day. But later on this month, I am attending my first GameCon, which is in Edmonton in Canada, and I'll be visiting my friends Ilya and Tyler from Covray, along with Jenna from the Board Game Garden, and somehow, hopefully, they do not lose their mind staying with me for a few days as we attend GameCon. From what I understand, it is GameCon, so it's not just a board game specific convention, but it has video games, it has like blind boxes, TCG games, like a bunch of just nerdy good fun, and it's one of the largest of that type of convention in Canada. So I'm eager to go. I've never been to Edmonton. And I'm sure we will do some fun things and lots of gaming, which I need to make up for it for my May slump. Or no, I do not need to make up for my May slump. You are valid if you are unable for any reason to have a slow month. And that was the purpose of this video and what I will leave you with today. So have yourself a fantastic June. And if there's any games that you played in the month of May that were surprises or disappointments or favorites, leave those in the month in the comments below, and I'll see you next month. So goodbye.